Hey there, welcome to the ArtMaster channel. We'll be drawing Bardock. To start drawing Bardock, as always, we are going to make a series of guidelines that would help us a lot to correctly fit the drawing based on symmetry. I will save you all the measurements on the screen so that you can do it at home. To make these guidelines, we will simply use a 2B pencil. As you can see, I have made a central vertical line that would help us with symmetry. Then I also made two horizontal lines that are quite close together, and these will help out with the eyes. Finally, we will make these two verticals to the sides that will indicate the margins of the drawing, and then we can start. Before anything else, we want to point out these 5 points or dots that will help us do a lot better when it comes to fitting the face in the drawing. It may seem silly, but you will see that if you try it, it will be much easier for you. Next, we are going to do, as we always do using the guides that we just drawn in, we're going to use this space for the eyebrows. We're going to do them exactly as the same as any other Dragon Ball character, but we are going to make a small retouch that will change the expression to a more angry one. This is really simple. You just have to shift the end of the eyebrows upwards. Once the eyebrows are done, we can make these 4 joining points to perfectly unite the eyes. Now, I'm going to continue drawing the irises, and I'm also going to make some other small corrections to the eyebrows. Continuing with the nose, this one will fit perfectly in the middle of the center line, and please remember to leave at least ½ an inch between the upper horizontal line. Then we'll proceed with a frown and eventually start with the mouth. We're gonna draw it with a slight curvature to give off that angry look, and right below the lips we're gonna draw these 2 lines to give, like an expression to it. And then right below the eyes we're also gonna make these lines for an expression of anger. After this, the face is almost complete, so we'll just go on up and start working on the bandana. But before you scream at me, I know I haven't drawn the famous Bardock scar yet, and I know Bardock without a scar is basically just another Son Goku, but just give it a second. We're gonna add a couple more expression lines in the forehead, and if you'll allow me, I'll continue on with the ears. We'll start drawing these right in the middle of the face, and we'll try to make them as symmetrical as possible so that they don't look, off. And of course, we cannot forget to draw the inside details of the ears. Okay, now that we have most of the face done and the ears, we can actually start drawing the hair. Okay, when it comes to hair, the first thing that I do to make it easier on me is start marking the extremes of every lock of hair. That way I can properly figure out the proportions of the hair. Next up, we'll continue with the locks of hair that fall right above his forehead. As a fun fact, one of his locks is bigger than the others and falls right over one of his eyebrows. Tell you the truth, Bardock is one of my favorite characters, and it took me a while to actually draw him because I was scared of messing it up. Also, one of my favorite characters is Goku Super Saiyan 3. So I'm also, a little bit iffy about drawing him, but eventually you'll see him on the channel for sure. As you can see here, his hair is almost done. I'll just spend some time correcting a few mistakes that I've seen along the way. Once that's done, we can start by drawing the shadows of the hair. And we do this by just following the same outline and shape of the actual locks of hair. Awesome! Once the hair is done, I'll just go back to the face and do some touch-ups on some few things that I saw here and there. And now we can actually draw the famous Bardock scar. And now just add some more expression lines along the face, the bandana. Oh, and of course, Bardock is gonna be filled with tiny little scratches. Now we can start with the neck. That, as you can see, it comes down straight from the ears. Then we'll do the shoulders that start off directly underneath the ears, and also the lines from the neck. I made the left shoulder longer because his body is going to be showing more because of his armor that is going to be completely wrecked. Nevertheless, on the right shoulder we will be drawing his armor. As you can see, we'll also start drawing the pecs and add some few details on his neck. Now we'll continue with his huge shoulders. We're going to try doing these the most rounded out, luminous, and symmetrical as we can. Remember, you can rely on the guidelines that we drew at the beginning so that you can make it as symmetrical as possible. Then I'll continue with the arms a little bit, And we're gonna start drawing the armor, which will begin by the lowest part so that we can then better fit the rest of it. I'm doing these lines here that will kinda divide the armor in two parts. I will also make a bunch of tiny grooves because, as we said before, his armor is going to be completely broken. I can't help to have flashbacks watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid and remembering the fights of Bardock against Frieza's soldiers, and for me it was one of the best moments in the series, hard to top in my opinion. After that, we'll just add a few more lines to define the musculature of his arms. A few more grooves and a few more scratches, and I think that the sketch is basically done. If you made it this far, congratulations, but it's no time for slacking because now comes a very difficult part, which is the line art. So I hope that you have a very good pulse because we don't want to have a lot of mistakes in this department. For this particular process, I'm using an inking pen of 1mm. Once you have it all covered up, leave it to dry and then gently erase it so that we can have less of that residue. Great, now we have to start coloring. For this, I'll be using alcohol-based markers and I'll start using this complexion tone for his skin. If you're actually wondering which materials I'm using, don't worry, I'll leave them all in the description below so that you can later find out what you're looking for. As you can see, I'm not coloring every single part of his skin because we're going to use those spaces for highlights and we're going to be coloring them later in a hazelnut tone. Once that's done, we can switch to this brownish tone to start coloring the intermediate shadow areas. Then we'll switch to a darker shade of brown for the third level of shadow layer. As you can see, the first layer of brown is not looking its best because unfortunately at the time of recording this marker was a little bit old. But don't worry, by the end of the drawing it will be barely noticeable. And I colored the scar with a light red wine tone. You may have noticed that I also applied a layer of yellow to the skin because the original skin tone that I was making did not convince me, since Bardock's skin is a tone a bit more darker than Goku's. By combining the yellow and the brown, it gave a more accurate look to the one that I had in my mind at least. We will continue the process with every single part of his skin along his body. Also, if you're new to the channel, please comment down below which is your favorite Dragon Ball character of all time. You can also follow me on my social media, and all the information will be in the description box down below. Especially on Twitter, I'm quite active over there. Well, after this shameless self-plug that I just did, as you can see, we're almost done with the skin color, so we're gonna be switching to this shade of black so that we can complete the eyebrows, the iris, and of course the hair. But before jumping into the hair, we'll start using this light gray for the shadow work. Then we'll go back to black so that we can use it on the hair. On this particular occasion, the marker that I used for the hair was a very rounded and big, tip, so I had to use the inking pen to just complete the little white parts that were left at the end of the process. We will then be switching to two shades of red, one lighter and one darker for the bandana. The lighter for the overall and the darker for the shadow work of the bandana itself. We will then move to the armor and we'll use different shades of green from lighter to darker to start working on the straps. Then we'll move to the abdominal part and we'll use the same colors. Then for the central part of the armor, we'll be using 3 shades of blue from light to dark. I always begin with the lighter version of the colors and then I move towards the darker because in my mind it just gives me a more sense of control. If we want to add a bit more depth to the drawing, we can use this light gray color to add shadow to the more intense areas. Now I can see that the colors are a little bit lighter than expected, so I'll just add another layer to intensify their hue. Then going back to the face, I saw something in the mouth that I didn't particularly like, so I just added a little bit of white pastel color and I liked it way more. And now we're just gonna keep adding those little tiny blood effects on its face. For this, I'll start by using a pencil to mark where the blood will be. Remember, we are drawing Bardock in the middle of his fight, so it's gonna be pretty banged up. Once the markings are set, I'll just use this red color pencil to add the blood. Trust me, if I'm seeing Bardock looking like this at me, I probably won't even try and talk to him because he's very intimidating. Then by using the same pencil but really sharpening it out, we're gonna start using just a few lines as a way of showing some scratches that he sustained in battle. And lastly, we're gonna use this light gray color to add some more shadow to the creases of his armor. And that's it, the drawing is done. Please let me know in the comments if you liked it and if it was of any assistance to your knowledge of drawing. Please leave a comment down below, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!